Hello. Sometimes I like to comb my beard and I use it to put other players off in board games. This is Board Deck and Dice and we are into the top 20 of our list of top 50 games that we enjoy playing or want to play more than any other games. So let's just crack on. Number 20 is Stellar Conflict. This is a real-time game where the preparation lasts longer than the scoring. You have a deck of cards that represent a space race, a race of aliens, ships, and you get a allowance that you can spend on these ships, so you quickly put together a deck of the best ships. They all have lasers coming off them at certain directions, and then for the next phase of the game, once you've all got your 10 points or spent your 10, 15 or 20 points, you have a table and you start laying those cards down on the table as fast as you can. Once you've laid it down on the table, it cannot be moved. You are trying to hit other people's cargo ships, you are trying to destroy their ships, so there's a bit of waiting for people to put cards down, but you don't want to wait too long because you literally only have a minute and it goes so quickly. Anything you don't get put down is gone, my friend. That's long gone. So you put all these cards down. The cards also have an initiative value. You take provided rubber bands provided, or a line laser, and you look for the ship with the first initiative, and you draw the laser. Each laser, different colour, has different hit value or does different effects. You draw it out, see where it hits, and you resolve them all, and it's just this wonderful mess of hoping that whatever plans you could have in that minute will play out, and then seeing what actually happens. You've hit yourself 3 times. This laser goes through ships, so you've hit yourself more than the other person, but there is a reward in there for being cunning and being a bit crafty and choosing the right ships, and it's just a great game. It has 4 races in there. You can play 2 to 4 players. Like I say, set up and putting your ships down takes, well, minutes, and then scoring takes like 5 minutes. But it's great seeing the scoring come up and kind of looking ahead and then realising that you missed out on an initiative and actually that's changed everything. Really great game, Stellar Conflict. Number 19 is Karuba from Harbour Games. Karuba is a game with a bingo style calling mechanic where everyone has the same player board. At the start of that game, they will set up adventurers on 2 sides of the board and temples on the other 2 sides, and you're trying to build a pathway through the jungle for the adventurers to get to the temples. They must go to the same colour temple. However, everybody starts with the same board, so the adventurers and temples are all placed in the same place. Everyone has the same 36 tiles, numbered tiles. Everyone must place them the same orientation, the correct way round. But that is it. You can place them wherever you want. You can make dead ends. And so one player turns all their tiles over, picks them up randomly, says 36. Everyone plays 36 their board, or they trade it in for movement for one of their adventurers, up to the value of the amount of exits on that tile, so 2 to 4. And it's just a great game of... One of the criticisms I've heard of this game is that it can be quite solitaire, but whenever I've played it, I'm always looking to see if people are more efficient than me, how people are kind of using the tiles to get to the temples. There's tiles that have gold and crystal on, which can be extra points if you land on them, but sometimes it might be better to trade those in to get the movement. The first players to get to each temple get more points than the players who get there later on. It's just very clever game that just works well. It takes hardly any explaining for people to get it, and we absolutely love it. Karuba. Number 18 is a new game from this year. It is Catbox. Catbox has surprised me with its depth. It was one of those I backed on Kickstarter thinking, oh, that looks kind of funky, I'll be able to play that with my son. Got it, and it has hidden roles. You have cards, square cards with up to 4 cats on. They will either have 3 cats on and an empty box, or 4 cats on. And the 4 cats can only be placed covering 1 cat or empty box on another card, and the ones with 3 on can be placed over 2 cats or 2 empty boxes. And what you're trying to do is you'll be given a cat roll at the start, which is secret, which is your colour, and you're trying to have that colour face up, be visible more than anyone else's, and also have a really big group of them to get some bonus points. unless you're the dog, in which case you want empty boxes visible and groups of 3 of the same colour cats. And because it has that hidden role element, it just kind of makes it this really tactical thing. If you're trying to work out whether someone might be the dog because they're grouping 3s together, but might they be doing that so later on they can make a really big group of their colour, and people can be quite sneaky and still win. Cat Box has really impressed me. There also is included in the box wooden tokens for each player that can add another depth, a kind of advanced mode for people if they want that. I found the standard mode is actually advanced enough, funnily enough, but having that option is really nice, and you can play a advanced mode should you want it. In fact, I'm going to get it out to introduce my group to tonight at our game group. That is 18 cat box. 17 is Wiz War. Wiz War is just a chaotic game of magic, battling wizards. It's kind of like capture the flag. You're trying to capture people's treasure chests or kill their wizards. And it's just works the way a magical battling game is supposed to work, because it's chaotic. You can do pretty much what you think you can do as a wizard, so the rules perhaps aren't that great or that clear, but you can just house rule it to make sense. So if you fire a lightning spell, it will bounce off a wall and hit someone, so it can go through them and hit them again. It just works really well. Added to that, there is a number of decks of magic, and you only use a certain amount each game, so you're not going to see the same spells from game to game. I've really enjoyed Wiz War just as pure fun and chaos. So that's number 17. Number 16 is Cockroach Poker, a simple game of bluffing, but again is so kind of pure that it just sees the table a lot of the time. Sees the table, that makes no sense. I mean, what I mean is I play it a lot because you have a hand of cards which are one of 7 bugs, and you will pass your card to someone and say, face down and say, that's a cockroach. And then they have this choice to either say, yes, you're telling the truth, or no, you're lying, and turn the card over, and then if they were right, you get punished. If they were wrong, they get punished. But they can become your accomplice by picking up the card, looking at it, passing it to someone else who hasn't been passed to that round yet, and saying, yes, that is a cockroach, or no, he's out of his mind, it's a frog. And it just creates this whole chain, and when the card's been passed through a few players, you have a group of players who know exactly what's on that card, all willing this one person who's now got this card to do something with it, and it just creates giggles. It's simple. Cockroach Poker is a great game. 15 is another deck builder, Xenon Profiteer, and this is a deck builder that I think should get a lot more love than it does. It has fantastic graphic design. Your kind of what you're doing is made sense of through this central console card, which you will be playing contracts to the one side of, and then when you complete them they flick over and you can extend them all. You'll be playing upgrades to the other side of and to below of, and the graphic design all links up through the cards. It's really clean and neat, even though you think it's not going to be. And where it differs slightly to other deck builders is what you want is the chemical Xenon. That is how you win, that is how you fulfill contracts, that is how you get points. To get Xenon, you have to take 3 useless chemicals into your hand. Now, you may have uses for them later on once you've built up your upgrades, but essentially you having to fill your hand with tat, which, as we know in a deck builder, you don't want to do. So you're having to create this really efficient engine on your tableau that deals with the tat but leaves you with just the Xenon so you can fulfill these contracts, and it's just a really compelling game. I was really lucky somehow to get hold of it in the UK. I'd really like to pick up the expansion for this. Xenon Profiteer is an excellent deck builder and does something different to other deck builders. My number 14 is Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Born. Now, this was just a lot of fun to play with the dice and the card play and the spells, and then the conjuring kind of minions or creatures to help you out. But I think what really stuck with me with it is because it's one of the ones I've played least on my top list, funnily enough, but was the potential for building your own deck, not in a kind of Star Realms Dominion way, but pre-building your own deck, and the potential to kind of do things and see off your opponent and have that back and forth. I've never played Magic the Gathering, but this kind of really fits what I imagine that would do, and I love the using of the dice, the manipulating of the dice to do more spells, to do main actions and secondary ones. It just works really well as a battling back and forth two-player game, and the artwork is fantastic. That is Ashes. Number 13 is not the highest game that I don't own, but is a game that I don't actually own, and that is Mysterium. Mysterium it is a game where one of you is playing as a ghost trying to communicate who murdered them to the other players through these really well done but images that can be interpreted in multiple ways. So you will hand someone these images that you think will direct them to the right thing that they need to be directed to, and you're not allowed to speak. And it was full of atmosphere. Now, I've played and owned Deception Murder in Hong Kong. I always want to say New York, but it's Hong Kong, isn't it? And that one I had really high hopes for, but so far that hasn't grabbed me in the same way that Mysterium has. There was something about the theme of Mysterium, something about the experience of Mysterium that worked in a way that hasn't worked with me so far in Deception. So I've not given up on Deception yet. I'm going to try it again, but Mysterium really grabbed me for those reasons. Number 12 is a bit of a cheat, 2 games, but really the second game is just an expansion to the first. And that is another deck builder. That is Dale of Merchants 1 and 2. Dale of Merchants is a clever deck builder where your goal is to build up market stalls, and it must be in increasing value from 1 to 8. So all the cards have a number, a multi-use number, which is how much it costs to buy them, but also how much they represent in this market stall. So your first one is 1, then 2, but they must be the same deck, animal deck, in each market stall. So you could have 2 blue, I can't remember what the blues are. The white cards are pandas, I think. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? I can't remember now, I'm on a mind blank. But there are various cards that let you manipulate that anyway. But what's nice about this game is that the base game and the sequel, all come with 6 different decks. And you will only use 1 more deck than there are players in the game. So if you're playing a 2-player game, you're only going to see 3 decks each game. And the decks are very tightly and well themed. So some decks are all about introduce a dice and are all about luck. Some are about manipulating your hands. Some are about manipulating the market. Some are about manipulating the stalls you're trying to build. Some are about planning for the long game. Some are about instant gains. And you can really have a lot of input on how your deck building game plays out in the way you choose which animal decks to put in. Really like this one. If you want to be Take Thatty, you can be Take Thatty. Dale of Merchants is a fantastic deck builder and well worth checking out for any deck building fans. And so we come to number 11, which is Skull King. Skull King is a trick-taking game where you bet on how many tricks you will take that round, and if you are right, that is the only way you can score points. If you're wrong, you're going to score negative points. And added on top of this, there's 10 rounds, and each round you get that amount of cards. So round 1 you get 1 card, round 2 you get 2 cards. So as the game progresses, it becomes harder to accurately predict how many tricks you are going to win. So there's a real amount of bluff and blag, and when do I play these special cards that auto trump, but they might not if someone's got another card. There's a semi-complex system of trumps with the special cards. But that kind of bidding mechanic, I am going to win 5 this go, and then someone else bids 5 and you've only got 7 cards, and you're like, alright, what have they got? Because this might end up backing up on me. But if you're only conservative in your bets, then you're not going to win because you're not going to score enough points. It's a very clever trick-taking game. Well, there we are. That is 20 to 11. Next time we'll be looking at my top 10 games. Thank you very much for joining us at Board Deck and Dice, and we will see you again next time.